Hello and welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be about whether King John of England murdered his nephew Arthur. In April 1203, 15-year-old Arthur of Brittany disappeared, presumed dead, while in prison in Rouen. Rumours went round saying that he was murdered by his uncle King John of England, but why would King John want to kill his nephew? Okay, first a little bit about John and Arthur's family tree. King Henry II of England and his wife Eleanor of Aquitaine had 8 children, 5 sons and 3 daughters. So the sons were William, who was born in 1153 but died just 3 years later, Henry the young king, who was born in 1155 and died in 1183, Richard, who was born in 1157, who became King Richard I of England, Godfrey, Duke of Brittany, born in 1153 but died in 1186, and John, born in 1166 and who became King of England after his brother Richard. But John wasn't the only person who was in line to become king after Richard's death. The other person was their brother Godfrey's son Arthur, who had become Duke of Brittany after his father's death. Arthur was born on the 29th of March 1187. His father had died 7 months before his birth after getting trampled to death at a jousting tournament. When Arthur was 2 years old, his grandfather, King Henry II of England, died and his uncle Richard became king. And Richard named Arthur his heir presumptive on the 11th of November 1190. But in 1199, while Richard was laying on his deathbed after being fatally wounded while attacking France, he named his brother John as the next king, fearing Arthur too young to rule, Arthur being only 12 years old at the time. So John claimed the throne of England, but the nobility in the French lands that England owned weren't too happy about this. They preferred Arthur, who was pally with the French king Philip II. Philip recognised Arthur's claim to Anjou, Maine and Poitou. So with this, Arthur led an army into Anjou and Maine. He began to style himself as a Duke of Brittany, Count of Anjou and Earl of Richmond. In September, King John managed to persuade William de Roche, Seneschal of Anjou, to deflect to him away from Arthur. And then 4 days later, William took Arthur and his mother Constance prisoner. But Viscount Amory took Arthur and Constance and fled with them to Angers. King John and King Philip then signed a treaty. In the treaty, King Philip recognised John as King of England and heir to his brother and abandoned his support of Arthur. Feeling offended and let down by Philip, Arthur went to see John. He was treated kindly at first, but then Arthur became suspicious about John's motives, so he fled back to Angers. But after he returned to France, he and Philippe made up and Arthur attacked Normandy in 1202. The people of Poitou revolted in support of Arthur and he besieged his grandmother Eleanor of Aquitaine in the Chateau de Mirbeau. John marched on Mirbeau, taking Arthur by surprise. Arthur was captured on the 1st of August and imprisoned in the Chateau de Falaise in Normandy. According to contemporary chronicler Ralph of Coggeshall, John ordered 2 of his servants to blind and castrate Arthur. But Arthur's jailer Hugh de Burgh could not bring himself to allow Arthur to be mutilated, so he leaked news that Arthur had died of natural causes. But Arthur wasn't dead at this point because he was actually transferred to Rouen. But now once in Rouen, Arthur disappeared. And his disappearance gave rise to various rumours. One was that Arthur's jailers didn't want to hurt him, so King John murdered Arthur himself and dumped his body in the River Seine. One was that Arthur's jailers didn't want to hurt him, so King John killed him himself and then threw his body in the River Seine. The Margam Annals said, after King John had captured Arthur and kept him alive in prison for some time, at length in the castle of Rouen, after dinner on the Thursday before Easter, when he was drunk and possessed by the devil, he slew him with his own hand, and tying a heavy stone to the body cast it into the river Seine. It was discovered by a fisherman in his net, and being dragged to the bank and recognised, was taken for a secret burial for the fear of the tyrant to the priory of Bec, which is called St Mary of the Meadow. Arthur's jailer, William de Braose, was also said to have killed Arthur. It is thought that he done this because after Arthur's death he received new lands and titles in the Welsh marshes. Many years later, William's wife Maud actually accused King John of killing Arthur. So what do you think? Did Arthur of Brittany die of natural causes, or was he murdered? And if he was murdered by someone acting on his uncle's orders, or was he actually murdered by his uncle? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.